Hello, we're Board Game Opinions. My name is Jonathan Hicks.
I'm Mark Windle.
I'm Steve Rain.
I'm Matt Pritchard.
And we are playing My City, which is one of the Spiel des Jahres nominees, I think, this year, which is designed by the ever-present Reiner Knizia. And essentially, interestingly, it's a legacy game. Okay, so we are playing kind of one game out of many. And it's a sort of tile-laying game. You're trying to fit the various tiles over here, the different city pieces on this board. But at the start of the Legacy campaign, the board is a lot simpler than this. There isn't as much going on the board. And gradually, as you go through the Legacy game, the board develops, and you kind of stick stickers on the board in the real game. We're in lockdown, which is why we're playing this on Tabletop Simulator. But yes, you kind of add stickers to the board, and gradually the map changes, and targets and things change, and it adds rules as you go through the game. So bear that in mind. We are going to show you mission 10, I think, which is, we're saying there's 24 different missions in the game?
Yeah, I'm doing that from memory. I can't actually remember, but
Something
yeah.
like that. So you're getting close to halfway through at this stage, but this will just give you a good idea of how the game plays generally. And it's very similar to Karuba, if you're familiar with that, in the sense that, if we play a couple of rounds of this, we draw a card out of the middle, and everybody has to play that card onto their grid. So that is the blue kind of U-shaped piece. That's this piece here. Now, to start with, is there any restriction on the starting player?
Yes, you have to go adjacent to the river.
The river, yeah, okay.
You can't cross it.
So I couldn't start somewhere like that. I want to go in the river somewhere. Now, you can't go across the river, so you're not allowed to put tiles across the river. And a bad move for me, for example, would be to put it somewhere like that, because I couldn't fit. There's no single tiles. If you look at all the tiles, there's no ones which like a single square. So these squares I'd never be able to fill in. And at the end of the game, you're getting -1 point for every grass square that's not filled in. So you very much want to fill out your board. So probably put in this there will be a better option. Once everyone's finished placing, we draw another card. So there we go. It's the yellow 2-piece. So everybody grabs the yellow 2-piece and tries to put it down. So I'm going to stick it here. Now the second piece has to connect to the first piece. You can ignore the river for that purposes. So putting it on the other side of the river, it still connects. You just can't cross over the river. So I couldn't do that. But I could do this, or if I wanted to, I could try and stick it in the gap there. That'll be fine. You do this, and then let's have another piece. It's the yellow large L shape, which is that one. Okay, now for various reasons I want to try and connect this to the other yellow piece. So I'm actually going to put that like that. Notice this also covers up the rock piece. I said grass pieces get you -1 point at the end of the game. Well, the rock pieces get you -2 points at the end of the game. You can't place off on this, you see, forest outside the grid. You're only placing in the grid. Should we have another card? It's a red one. Which red one is that? It's just the basic L shape, isn't it?
The triangle.
Okay, I think I'm going to try and squeeze this one in there. Now, you see what I've done with my board. Now, if we look at other people's boards, you can see they're potentially quite different. Like Matt over here started off here and he's gone all the way in that direction. So obviously we're all kind of starting in the middle. Mark's gone across that way. And we carry on going. Oh, this is quite important. Yeah, what was that one? Was that a church?
It's a church.
It's
Not
disappeared.
a church.
There's the church. Let me move it out of the way so you can see it.
Church.
Now, as well as having yellow, red, and blue pieces, you also have these 3 church pieces. Now, when that comes out, you have to be able to place it. So I'm going to stick it. Oh, this is a horrible piece to play. It really is horrible. I think I'm going to plonk it. It'll sort of fit in that gap there. The problem here is it's going to cover up the trees. Now, the trees are worth 2 points at the end of the game if you don't cover them up. I mean, I guess I could put it there. Maybe that's a better space. Yeah, I'll put it there, because then it's not covering up any of the trees. Every tile you play has to connect to an existing tile, you see. So I couldn't just decide, oh, I'm going to stick it over there. So that would go there. Now, we go through the game like this, and you're going to gradually fill up your board. But you see, later on, when there isn't much space left, if an awful piece like this, one of the church pieces, comes out, then if you can't play it, then your game is over. You'll score points once everyone else has finished as well, but it just causes you to sort of finish, and you can't play any more tiles. However, if it's not a church piece, if we just had, let's say, this red square, and you couldn't play the red square, or you decided, oh, that's going to be really awkward for me, it's going to mess up all my other plans, then you can choose not to play one of the coloured pieces. However, if you do that, you lose a victory point. So you start at 10 and you actually drop down to 9 if you decide not to play one of these tiles. But the churches, with the exclamation marks, they have to be played. So you've got to be very careful to leave space to fit the churches in. The deck corresponds to every piece here. So almost every piece is going to come out. You can't quite fit them all in, but they're all going to come out potentially. So you carry on playing, as I say, until we've filled our board and you can't play anymore, and then you're scoring points. The first person to connect the 2 gold mines gets 3 points. As I say, you lose a point for every grass space, you lose 2 points for every rock space, you gain 2 points for every forest. Now, this is slightly tricky, but if you can leave the well uncovered and have 4 pieces next to it, so maybe that went up there. See, I couldn't put an L there because you have to have 4 pieces next to it, so I'd need a different piece now. Maybe that would go. I'd have to cover the forest to do this. But if you manage to surround the well with 4 different pieces, then the well scores you 4 points. And then finally, you're also getting points for churches. But the church has to be connected to 3 buildings of 3 different colours, if you like. So if this ended up here, I could put that there maybe, and that would connect the yellow and the red to the church. And then somebody would need to connect the blue. That one doesn't connect at the moment, so I'd need another blue piece somehow. Maybe I could put this one, probably want to cover up the rock, don't I? There we go. So now this church will score me 3 points. So each church potentially scores you 3, but only if it's connected. And then finally, at the end of the game, you're getting points for the largest connected area in each colour. So in this case, I've got 3 blue touching, so that would score me 3 for the blue colour. Putting this yellow one over here was a bit daft, because really I wanted to connect all my other yellow ones. So you're trying to group all the colours together, as well as leaving space for the churches and not covering up the forests and covering up the rocks. Oh my goodness, it can get quite difficult later on. And obviously at the end, most points wins. What do you think, Mark?
Part of me thinks, I don't know how to put it, because we're reviewing essentially one scenario of what is essentially a simple legacy game. It's difficult to say. I can only review what's in front of me, or think of what's in front of me. And the problem is, it's going to live and die by that legacy part of the system, because the game's it's just not that interesting. It's fine. It's a fill in the map sort of thing. I don't know which order the reviews go out, but we're talking about cartographers. But the problem is, I can list many games, albeit they'll be slightly more complex, but they will do all the systems and it's better. Kruber is a much better game for drawing the cards. The simple version of Kruber is a better game for the identical turns taken at the same time. Cartographers and Patchwork are better for the filling in the map. It's not that anything's wrong with it, it's just that it's so bare bones on what the actual game is. And to me, it's just got nothing interesting to bring me back to want to play it again over one of those. As I said, those games are probably slightly more complex, but they're not a million miles more complex unless you are saying those are too difficult for my group, or I'm playing with a younger child. This might be better with like that than maybe something like Kruber. It's worth investing the extra time to play them. It's not a bad game. It's just not enough to it to me to want to come back to.
Steve?
Yeah, I'm probably not going to be able to rate this, because I think any rating I give will be slightly unfair, because it will live and breathe on how good the legacy part of it is. If this is the result of the legacy game, this is the game you get to play once the legacy aspects finish it, there's just not enough there for me personally. It's a bit too light. There are, like Mark said, Kruber is just the best example off the top of my head. That is just a better version of the thinking in that sort of game. It is multiplayer solitaire. There's no interaction at all. So in Kruber, there's whoever gets to the yellow temple first, with the exception of the gold mines here, which is 3 points. But the games I've seen where someone got to the gold mines first, and they made it so difficult to fill the rest of their board in that they just did awfully. So I don't think necessarily rushing for the gold mine is a winning strategy. Like, the winning score was 40 or something. I can't remember what you got, Jonathan, like 40,
yeah,
41.
It's
no, you got 39 or something, yeah. So, like, 3 points, the gold mine, brilliant. But you mess yourself up by kind of doing that, and then you know, whatever. So you kind of want to be compact in any sort of game like this, where you're trying to fill, you're not trying to race to things, you're trying to fill as much as you can, you're trying to be compact. I think I'll echo what a lot of Mark says. There's just not enough here for me. And if this is the pinnacle of the game after you finished it, it just is, I'll play it. It's not a bad game. It just doesn't interest me.
Matt?
Yeah, like they say, it's going to be the legacy aspect that determines whether this stands out at all. it kind of feels like if you didn't tell me, I assume this is a newish release. But if I didn't know it was a new release and I got it off the shelf in a board game cafe, I'd assume it was a fairly old game from the way it plays. So it doesn't feel like a kind of fresh new game or anything. Obviously, the legacy aspect is something that's newish, and lots of games are doing. From what we can see in this implementation, I'm not sure what the legacy is going to add. Obviously, presumably,
what if you get to add like the trees on the boards, so if everyone's going to place them in the same place? And like
not
that?
sure about the trees. You get to add the well, and I think the gold mines aren't on the original map. But I watched like the first 3 missions. I think the mission 2 you add the well, or 3 you add the well, or something like that, or thereabouts. I mean, it's hardly that much of a spoiler because it's on the fixed version of the game. But after that, I didn't really watch much to it, and I just saw and sadly we can't test legacy games out on TTS.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe there's some really interesting stuff in the legacy, but if it is just choosing where your well goes and adding some more rocks and things, I don't think that's going to be enough to.
I imagine something goes over the trees.
Yeah,
that you extend your board somehow.
But I'd hope there'd be other things coming out of the legacy envelopes as well, not just stickers to go on your board, but maybe extra powers like you.
But it is only a spiel level.
Someone else's city or something.
It's a spiel level. It's not even Kenner spiel, so it's not going to be that complex what it adds to it. Realistically,
I think it's a family game, and I think families who aren't heavy gamers will be absolutely fine with it. There's enough going on. It's not like it's boring.
No,
it's just not deep enough for me.
But there's lots of other games that do similar kind of things and are more interesting, at least than it is on Tabletop Simulator.
Imagine doing this if you say it's 24 times, albeit it's expanding, but playing this game 24 times.
I mean, yeah, but depending how much the envelopes add, I could see myself playing the legacy.
I'd happily do it, but I can see why
there
not everyone.
Very few games I've played 24 times. I'm with Mark. I'd want it to hook me a bit quicker than this has.
I do like legacy games. I do like to see games kind of evolving.
I think from a personal point of view, a legacy game, the fundamental base game of the legacy game has to have me for me to want to do the legacy aspect.
Which is the reason why Pandemic Legacy. So good.
I liked Pandemic, and I liked Pandemic Legacy Season 2 because I liked the difference in how it worked, and that I was willing to go through. Charterstone, I didn't like, and so I've no desire to do the legacy aspect of it because I didn't like the base game, and this is very similar for me.
I think that's
I like the story of the legacy games. So like Seafall got slated by critics. Lots of people don't like it. And I think there's some balance issues to Seafall, but it's got a really great story, which is what we liked about it. Myself and David really liked Seafall, even though we probably had no chance of winning the campaign. It was the story that kind of mattered, that kept us playing it.
So Matt, bearing in mind that we are only sort of rating this version of the game and not the legacy game, what would your provisional rating be?
Ooh, I would probably stick it at a 5 out of 10.
Steve?
I don't want to rate it, but if you make me, I'll do 5 as well.
Mark?
Yeah, 5 was exactly where I was going.
Yeah, okay. I think that's all right. I feel very differently about it to these guys, though, I have to say. And I've been trying to work out what it is. Like, I prefer this to Karuba. Shock. Yeah, I know. And I think essentially it's because you can pre-plan almost your entire board. Now, you can't predict the order in which the pieces come out. And obviously the restriction with them having to touch existing pieces is there. But you can leave kind of perfectly sized spaces. So like I've kind of got the U-shaped space here. Yep, there's a red U that's still to come out. And I think there is one card that prevents one of the shapes not appearing. But that aside, you can guarantee that all the other pieces will come out. So you can really plan ahead. And if you think carefully and manage how you build your city, then you can do very well at this. Whereas with other games, I think you can get stuffed by other people's actions, or like the way that the order in which the tiles come out. But in this, I feel like you're a lot less likely to get done in by the order in which things come out, and you certainly can't get done in by other people. So it is multiplayer solitaire in that sense. But I love the tile lane. Yeah.
Before you jump on though, that's one of the best things about Tonight Crim. It's like, oh, come on, this piece. So I like the risk. It's you're taking the risk of, I need one of these to come out. Yeah. I'm weighing my options. I really want you to draw. I
didn't like the fact that you got through the whole deck.
Yeah.
And won. You paid the most victory points to say no, don't want that, don't want that, don't want that, and you got through the deck. I think there should be a bigger negative to doing that.
Yeah, I can see that, but I mean, for that reason, that is why I like it. I think more than the rest of these guys, because when it goes wrong, effectively, I feel like it's my fault, and I could have planned better, and I wouldn't have stuffed myself up in that sense. I feel like I'm less at the mercy of the cards or whatever you're drawing than I am in other games of this sort. So that's why I personally enjoyed it, I think, much more than these guys. I think I'd be on a 7.5 out of 10. So yeah, I'd very happily play this. Certainly at least 10 times. 24 might be pushing it. But for families, I think it'd be perfect. Yeah, in terms of the weight of the game, if you like this kind of simple tile laying, I think it does that very well. All right, there we go. That's our range of opinions. Thanks very much for watching. That was My City. Bye.